Hi guys, I'm doing a movie review on a movie that was recommended to me by a good friend. And the name of the movie is Perfect Days. It's from 2023, pretty recent. It was directed by Wim Wenders. And I watched it over the weekend. And I have a lot of spoilers in this, so if you want to watch it before you hear me talk about my takeaway, I would probably advise that, because I am going to give some spoilers from my experiences, what I took away from it, and everybody might have their own takeaways from it, but this is my takeaway. I don't know if you know too much about me, but my name is Ezra, and I'm 44 years old. I live in New York City. I have quite a life history. I've been on the very poor side, on the very rich side, on the Orthodox side, on the secular side, on the family side, on the single side. And I feel like this movie, Perfect Days, really resonated with me for a lot of reasons. Quite a lot of reasons. And the movie is set in Japan, and it's about this it's played by this actor, Kōji Yakusho, and he plays this guy who cleans toilets for a living. That's his job. And that's how it starts. It goes into him just being super dedicated and taking pride behind his job. You know, he gets in there to these toilets that are around Japan, and even though they're quite nice bathrooms, but they're still bathrooms, and he literally has to get in there and clean up the feces spackle. He has a little mirror that he gets underneath the toilet seat to see if there's any spackle behind that, even people wouldn't see, but maybe it would smell or something, and just not sanitary. So he's like really into his job, and he loves his job. I don't know if he loves his job, but he takes his job super seriously, and he's dedicated. He's a middle-aged guy, and he's a very good-looking guy, and he cares. He trims his mustache. You see in the beginning of the movie, he brushes his teeth. He takes care of himself. He washes himself, and you see in this movie that it starts off, he's coming to clean his toilets, and he sees somebody with a mask over there walking through the streets, and he's looking at them like they're kind of ridiculous wearing a mask, because he's going into toilets. He doesn't wear a mask or anything. He's picking up cigarettes with his bare hands. And from the outset of it, you might look at his resume and, middle-aged man cleaning up toilets, doesn't really have any wealth, doesn't have family, and it could sound super depressing. But when you watch the movie, and it's not an easy watch, because it can get, at sometimes you might think that something more is going to happen, that, there's going to be some plot twist or something, but it's really not. It comes into the movie and it leaves the movie. It's just really, I don't know, this is a movie, but it's more of a inspirational therapy session. It's like, it could be such a motivation for people to understand. It took me a long time. Once I hit my 40s, I started really looking over my life experiences and realizing that there's a lot of takeaways that you can take from life. And this movie kind of sums it up. So to me, movies are, there's so many movies out there. We have so many platforms to watch movies. You'll watch a movie about a really good movie really inspires you to change your life in a better way. Like, I don't know, when I was a kid, I was like I loved Batman movies. And when I watched a good Batman movie, I came out of there thinking like, I'm going to be a better person. Like, I'm going to save that lady from getting robbed or whatever it is. Like, it really changed my life. So like a good movie will change your life. And this movie, it's not in your face changing your life. It takes a little bit more time for it to absorb and like the understanding of it. And I would say it's even like better than just in your face, because it slowly like settles. Like it took me a day for it to settle in and understand like the beauty behind this movie. So I'm definitely appreciative for this movie. So anyway, so this guy is going and he's walking, he's cleaning bathrooms, he's super organized, you know. He doesn't seem like he's such an educated person, but he looks like he was raised the right way, and he has, you know, good values, and he stands behind his money. He stands behind his you know, his disciplines, and he's a middle-aged guy, very good-looking guy. Like he could definitely be a model, like a high-end model or whatever. But you know, and even joke about he gets like a wrinkle in his eye, and like the waitress at one point says, "Oh, I think I see a wrinkle," and he's a very good-looking guy. But he doesn't talk much, and he doesn't have too much. I would say he probably is not an educated guy, and he's just doing the most simple, basic job that in Japan, you know, probably they look at people who are, you know, not educated or not high up the success ladder, and it's like a little bit of a shame to be part of his family, to be, you know, to date him or anything. He's a single guy. He has no children, and he still wakes up every day. He comes outside. He has a smile on his face. And we're talking about the bare minimums. The guy has no money. He lives on a cot on the floor of an apartment. But he has this inner happiness where he finds these little plants and he waters them and he takes care of them, and he has this park where he eats his lunch, and he takes a picture of a tree. And it's like his journal. It's like his destiny. Like people have children and they like watch them grow. He doesn't have children, but he still understands that, you know, his time on this earth is like valuable, and he connects with a tree, and he sees a guy, a beggar who's drunk, who's dancing, and he respects the beauty in the simplicity of life. And this tree, he takes a picture of it, and then you see him put away years of documented this tree, and he just takes pictures every day of this tree, and it seems to be going on for a long time. By the way, there's some noise over here. I'm heating up my lunch, just so if anyone's interested. This is my lunch today. Marina made for me, like she always does, a delicious salad, and we have some chicken over rice heating up. It's nice and cozy in the car while it rains outside. It's a rainy day, Sunday, and quite a busy day, but I have to take a break to eat my lunch, so I figured I would tell you about this movie. Anyway, I'm all over the place, I'm telling you, but I want to get a couple points across that I was able to see. So at one point in the movie, this girl, she gets lost, a little child, and her mother's looking for her frantically, and he finds her in the bathroom, and he holds her hand, you know, to walk into the street to find her mother because she's crying. And the mother finds her, and he finds her and says, "Oh, thank you." You know, she's thanking him for finding everything in subtitles. It's in Japanese. And she finds her daughter, and she takes her, and she's like, "Where were you?" You know, she's so happy to, and she thanks him for it. And then as she walks away, she takes out wet wipes and she washes her hand of the girl, of her daughter. And, you know, he sees that, and obviously he understands his place. He's not upset about it, but it opens up his eye, and, you know, probably throughout his life, he keeps on seeing like he's treated as a dirty person, you know, and he's not dirty at all. You see him going to this bathhouse, and he really scrubs, and he takes a bath every day, probably is cleaner than a lot of people that wouldn't be doing this job. But he you know, he understands his position. He sees that this mother is taking her daughter and wiping her hands because she just touched him, and he doesn't get upset. And it's very meaningful that these these situations that are happening around him, they don't stop his mission. They don't stop his resolve to be this good person, because he has inner happiness, because he's not blinded by greed or this. He works his job. He does his job. He takes pride in his job. He sleeps. He eats. He really lives. He really lives in the moment, actually. And there's this part in the movie where his niece runs away from her mother, and they're very wealthy. And she comes to him, and she runs away from her mother, and she comes to him, and he lets her live there. And he would make a great father. The way he treats the tree, the way he treats everyone, and the example he sets. And it's no way even though on the outset you would think it's a depressing movie about this guy who doesn't really have any where is he going, what's happening, he's just cleaning toilets, it's so embarrassing, you feel so bad for him. You shouldn't feel bad for him. I mean, there's so many people who have mundane jobs or simple jobs, but it's not the job that makes you. And this movie depicts it in a beautiful way. It's not the job that makes you. I'm sorry, I'm talking really fast because I'm so used to doing shorts and running through, and I realize over here I'm doing a video. I have some time. But yeah, I could talk a little slower. He has this passion for life. So every morning he wakes up, he looks up at the sky, and he's just so happy, and no one's watching him, no one's looking at him, it's himself, right? And he listens to music, and he appreciates music, and he sings, and he goes to his job, and his job is no way fancy, and he has no money. At one point he gives his money to this other coworker who, this job typically is for someone who doesn't have any ambitions. The teenage coworker that he's working with, he's just a really kind kid that some autistic kid comes in and plays with this boy's ear. He's a teenager, and he's just oh, this autistic. So he's a really kind guy, his coworker, and he comes late to work, and he sits on his phone and cleans the toilet. He's not really, he doesn't take the job seriously. He even leaves without any notice. He just calls up the guy, he calls up the main character, and he tells him, I can't come in today. And that's typically who's going to do that type of job. Someone who's not too serious about the job, who's just doing it as an in-between time, not taking it seriously. But he does take it seriously, and he takes his life seriously. And he's so happy. He's so happy driving, playing his music. He wakes up early. He has a mission. He eats, he goes to this bar where they feed him, and they know him already because he always goes to the same place. He always goes to the same bathhouse, and he really enjoys sitting in the hot tub. Yeah, so there's one point where I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. There's one point where his niece runs away, and she comes to him, and they take a walk. She wants to go with him to work. He's like, you sure? He doesn't want to at first, but she's like, no, I really want to. So he takes her to work, and she witnesses, she's from an affluent family. Her father was very wealthy, and her mother, who's this guy's sister, she was around wealth, and she sees her uncle, and he's cleaning toilets, and she's noticing that people are like walking by him like he's dirty, but she knows him to be her uncle, and she knows who he is, and she's trying to piece it together. And they're walking over a bridge later that day, and there's this big river, I guess an amusement park or something, and the daughter goes, oh, let's go to visit that amusement park. And he goes, next time. And she goes, when next time? And he goes, next time. She goes, when is next time? And he says, next time is next time. He goes, now is now, and next time is next time. So you really see how he lives in the moment. I don't know if you know this philosopher, Eckhart Tolle. He's a German philosopher, and he talks about living in the moment. And I'm a big believer in this. We worry so much about the future and the past that we forget about life as it's passing us by. We don't stop and smell the roses. But there's so much happening during life. Yes, you're working, but that's life too. Yes, you're not on vacation, but that's life too. If you enjoy the moment, if you really take in that we have health and we have, all these blessings that we do have, your perception will make you into a much happier person by far. So this movie, I think it speaks to a lot of different people. It doesn't say a story straight out. It leaves an open ending. It leaves a lot of openings, and that's pretty cool because different walks of life could interpret, who the uncle was or who the brother-in-law was or why he's looking up at the tower. But I'm just telling you from my perspective what I took away from it. So, he has this inner happiness, and he doesn't get affected when this girl, her mother, cleans her hands. He's a simple man, but he was obviously raised by good parents who instilled in him values and kindness. And his sister, who ended up marrying a super wealthy guy who he doesn't talk to because of whatever reason. Maybe he wasn't good to his sister, maybe the wealthy brother-in-law wasn't good to his sister, where he swore off this guy. He's like, he has no interest in him. And obviously his brother-in-law could have helped him financially and getting a good job and stuff. But you see, like, his resolve is strong. He doesn't get sidetracked. Not that he doesn't want it. When he comes out in the morning, he looks up, he sees a skyscraper. He doesn't have anger at it. He kind of looks up like they're looking down at him, and he wants to aspire to success. He looks up and he sees it. And to me, he wants to have success. He can't get there. Maybe he doesn't have the right credentials to get a job in that building. But, he has the jealousy, but jealousy could be used for good or bad. You could look at somebody who's super healthy and goes to the gym and be jealous of them and want to aspire to them. Or you can be jealous of somebody and be like, oh, they don't deserve this. How dare they, how dare they have this fancy house? They don't deserve it. Like, you don't even know them, but you're jealous in a bad way. So the act of jealousy is not good or bad, but you see he has this jealousy, but it's a good jealousy. Like, he looks up at this tower and he wants to be there. And he is single and he doesn't have any women in his life. And maybe that's because of the job he has, and people are, but you see he wants to be with a woman. You see that he gets excited when his coworker gets replaced for a female, and he does desire to have connection. He would want a child, he would want children, he would want a family, but he just doesn't have it. And it might happen, and I'm a very positive person. I like to put a positive spin on everything. So they don't tell you where the movie goes, but I'm hoping that what happens is he continues on his journey and he does end up in a beautiful relationship with a person who appreciates him for who he is. And throughout the movie, people do like him. Like, his coworker's girlfriend or girl that he his coworker is trying to get this girl, and the girl kisses him on the cheek and he gets all like fluttered with it, but like she likes him, but maybe she can't be with him, but she likes him. Another girl in the park is like a nervous girl, and she also like looks at him like she likes him, and I think she plays tic-tac-toe through a paper in the toilet with him. It's like people like him, but maybe the powers of keeping up with the Joneses, and not fitting in, maybe he is considered an embarrassment for people, and that's why he's not in a relationship, because he doesn't have the money. Sometimes it's good to be under the radar. They say a guy who's unhappy and he's sitting in his, broken down car and he's crying, or he's sad, he's anxious, he wishes he could, he wishes life can be better. Okay, he's sad, but at least he knows that at least in his mind, if he had money, he would be happy, right? But the person who has a nice car and is sitting in there sad, he's really in trouble because he already has the money. So it's like, he thought money would maybe, he can't think that money will bring him happiness. So sometimes it's good to be under the radar, just be a simple person, and have dreams. There's nothing wrong to dream. We want everyone to dream. The dream. For me, America is it's not a geographical place. It's more of an ideology. And you could be America. I say America, maybe somebody else will say something else, but America to me it's a philosophy. It's being kind to your neighbors. It's being humble. It's being appreciative. It's being good. It's, it's having a right to your values and fighting for them, and having freedom to say what you think is right, and to, have a talk if somebody wants to talk about it. So that's being American. And this movie is a very American based movie, I would say, not just because of the music that's in it is American and stuff like that, but the ideology that the message is sending, that yes, you have these amazing values, and you're not going to be taken by greed or by money. You're not going to be bribed. People find themselves in high position jobs where they're forced to do something that they normally wouldn't agree with, but they have to, because if they lose their job, then they lose their income, they lose their house, they lose their kids. Sometimes maybe not having money is a blessing, because you don't have to worry about losing your house and losing your, all your statuses and all the people you employ. You're a simple person, and there's a beauty behind that. Like, some people, they think that life is going to be so much better if they have money, but money is not the answer. Money could bring a lot of problems. It's a lot harder to have money than not have money. With money, you could always lose money, but if you don't have money, you can only go up. As far as money, obviously money is just a tool. It's not happiness. Everybody looks at the guy everyone surrounds the guy with the Lamborghini, and they're like, oh, that guy's cool. I want to be like him. I want to be his friend. He has all this money. He's a great guy. You don't know who he is. He could have won the lottery. He could have got that money very badly, but still it attracts people because they want success. So they want to be close to a guy who has a lot of money. But the guy who's smiling, the guy who's happy, like in this movie, that's when the guy in the Lamborghini surrounds him and says, what do you know? What's your trick? how'd you figure out life? Like, what? Because everybody at the end of the day is looking for that happiness, looking for that respect. People confuse pleasure and happiness. So they don't work hard for happiness, and then they run to pleasures. But real happiness comes from this guy's dedication to his job. And he gets some perks. At one point in the movie, there's these traffic agents that are about to give him a ticket, and he comes out and they're like, oh, sorry. He's like, oh, you must be new here. So you get, it's like, are we going to give the toilet washer a ticket? And the ticket people, they can decide who to give tickets to or not, right? It's at their discretion. So you see, like, he gets some perk benefits of not being a rich guy or just anybody. He's a bathroom attendant. So he's raised really well, I'm assuming, by good parents, and his sister is probably like a very good girl, and that's maybe why she got married to such a wealthy guy, even though she was such a simple girl, because she wasn't a boss and she wasn't demanding. And most men want a woman, they want to come home, they're hunter-gatherers, they're businessmen, they want to come home to no drama, right? So maybe she was just this really, like, super, grounded, happy girl, just like her brother, maybe not very sophisticated or educated, but she had this happiness. And that's what I'm saying. The guy in the Lamborghini, he runs to the guy who's happy. He's asking, how did you figure it out? So on paper, this guy, his whole resume does not look good, but after you watch the movie, you really learn that he's a great guy. What else did I wrote some notes over here. Yeah, so at the end, the brother-in-law is sick, and the sister, you know, she comes to pick up her daughter because the niece ran away to him. So the sister is very wealthy, and she comes. She says, "Are you going to say goodbye to my husband? You know, you're going to talk to him. He can't even answer. He's in a hospital bed. He's brain dead, and he won't even talk. He's like, no, you know, he wrote him off." So he's like strung to his resolve. He's strung to his resolve. So we learn a lot about this guy. He lives in the moment. He doesn't have money to the point where his coworker wants to go out on a date and is trying to sell his tapes to get money. So he doesn't want to sell his music, so he gives his coworker cash to the point where he doesn't have money for gas to get home. Like, he used his last cash. So he doesn't have any savings from what I understand. But still, it doesn't slow him down. You know, he gets up and he does his thing and he works hard. But at the same time, you know, so the coworker calls in and tells him, you know, I can't come to work today. And, you know, what is he supposed to do? So he calls the agency. He says, these bathrooms are not going to be clean. So they ask him to fill in and do the other bathrooms. So he has to basically do a double shift. Probably not an easy thing when you're cleaning bathrooms, but he does it. But he tells the agency, I'm doing it today, but I'm not going to do it any other day. You have to find someone else. So, you know, emergencies come up. He rolls with the punches. He understands that's okay. You know, emergencies happen. I can do this today, but I'm not going to be trampled on through my life. So he's not being taken advantage of in any way. And you shouldn't be taken advantage of. You should have your dignity and your respect. But you see over here, even though he's a toilet guy, he's still not, you know, he's not going to do something that he can't do. But that doesn't mean that he can't do it one time. Like, we could all work that one emergency overnight or whatever it is. You don't have to like be someone who's like, no, that's below me or something. I can't do that. Like, you could do that. By the way, I just want to tell you that this video is sponsored by this company, Cord Case. It's the first ever always integrated retractable USB cord on your phone. So if you have the iPhone 14 Pro, it fits perfectly. It's an elegant case. It's actually my company, and I have partners, investors, and engineers, and it's a phenomenal product. I invented it 10 years ago, and I've been working on it ever since. So we just released it for the 14 Pro. If you have a 14 Pro and you want to be an early adopter for Cord Case, come and get it. It's so convenient. You always have your wire with you, so you can always plug it in. You have USB-C over here, and you have USB-A, so anything, go to cordcase.com and purchase one. I think they're selling for like $30, and it pulls out to like 3 whole feet. I would show you the one on my phone, but I'm using it to record this video, so maybe I'll have a little program at one point to show it in use. But Cord Case, it's got a felt liner, so it protects the back. It's got a metal over here, so you can use it for magnets. It sticks to magnets. It could take a hit. It's always connected, and you have a female port over here, a lightning female port, so you can plug in your own wire if you don't want to unravel it and ravel it back all the time. So it's there in an emergency. You go on a plane, a bus, you know, I go to the gym, I go on the treadmill for an hour, I just pull it out and plug it in. I would never bring a wire to the gym, but if I'm on the treadmill for an hour, I plug it into the treadmill, so I top off my phone all the time, and I never have to worry about having a dead battery. I avoid having a dead battery by having my charger all the time. So we're sponsoring this video by Cord Case. That's CORDCASE. If you have an iPhone 14 Pro specifically, that it works for. It also works for the 13 Pro and the 13, but the cameras on those phones are a little bit smaller, so it has some space showing around the camera. But it works for the 13 Pro and the 13, but mainly the 14 Pro. Okay, getting back to this movie. What else do I want to talk about? So he still has his dignity. He doesn't get pushed too hard. And you know, we're going through times where like, and we've always gone through times where like, you know, people are like, oh, you know, the people in charge are evil, or you know, the grifters of this world, and everybody's bad, and I don't believe that. I actually believe that there are good people in this world, and people who do things for the betterment of life, the purest, the real American values, you know, our morals and our ethics, and there are good people. And capitalism, it's a great thing. It could be used for good or bad, but we try to focus and use it for the positivity. And I recently met a guy who was a very well versed in history, and he was telling me about the making of America, that the British were ruling, and there was a British soldier, and they were very wealthy, and he was traveling somewhere, and two soldiers stopped him, and they saw he looked a little suspicious, and they wanted to find out who he was. And to get away from them, he offered them a bag of gold. And these guys were on the side of the road. That gold would have probably changed their life forever. It was a lot of money. And it's part of the American story, the founding of our country, that they didn't take this gold. And they waited for the backup to come, the army. They called in for the army. They came. And it turns out that these people would have ruined the whole making of America. So you have to believe that there are good people at the top, there are good people at the bottom, there are good people in between, there are good people everywhere. And we shouldn't just assume that everyone's bad and everybody's, you know, out for greed. You know, it is greed that brought down every civilization, but we want to manifest that there are good people out there, and I do believe that there are good people out there that really do things for the betterment of society, that don't run after the money. And you know, life is short. Life is really short. Some of these trees around me will outlive us. Nobody from 200 years ago even is around today. So life is short. Let's make the right decisions in life, and let's do the right thing, and let's not just run after, you know, what we're told we have to do, or else we'll lose our job. And it's hard. I get that. You know, wars have been fought over bread. So we don't want to lose our jobs. But at the same time, this movie, it really exposes the beauty of having a simple life. And even though in the movie, you know, he doesn't have a relationship, I'm hoping he does find a relationship with the right person, because, you know, there are people who have everything and they're super successful and they get married, but does the woman actually love them, or does she love the money, right? So that's the question. Or is a money part of them? Is a money part of him? But if he loses his money, does she lose respect for him? So sometimes it's better to be yourself, be who you are, and let someone, it's always better to be yourself, to be who you are, not to put on a show for somebody. So the woman that meets him after this movie ends, I do believe he's going to have a relationship, and he's going to love his wife, and he's going to have kids with her, and she's going to be great for him, because she's going to really understand, you know, she's going to really love him as a person, not his money or his success or anything, just him. And to me, he is successful. You know, success is not just money. Success, you could be rich without money. Rich is a lifestyle, and he's definitely rich. He knows what he wants in life. He's happy. Let me see. Let's see. What else did I write? I think I said a lot. I probably left out a couple things. But anyway, let me just talk without the notes now. So I want to tell you a story, and this is a true story, and it's a very important story to hear. So there was a family. Normal family, you know, middle class, maybe lower middle class, you know, hardworking, blue collar, normal family. They raised their kids right. You know, they had, let's say, 5 children. And they, you know, the simple Brooklyn family. And they grew up, and everyone understood the what a dollar meant, and they had to work. They had to work for their money, and they appreciated life, and they were happy people, and they were good people. And anyway, the parents became grandparents, and eventually they passed away. And you know, they're just living with their 5 kids, maybe some grandchildren at that time, the children of this family. And they get a phone call from a lawyer asking what they want to do with the inheritance. And he said, "What inheritance? Our parents had no money. There's no inheritance." They're like, no. There's quite a big inheritance of $975 million. I said, "What?" Yeah, your parents, they were super successful people, and they had $975 million for the children, and we want to know what you want to do with it. Wow. So can you imagine? What they realized was, first of all, their whole world, just like, obviously they probably didn't change because they were already based and strong in who they were. But for a person without, you know, tons of money to all of a sudden get a boatload of money like that, and to understand it came from their parents, and they understood that the parents never wanted to tell their children that they had this fortune, because they knew that if their children knew that they would be able to go through life without having to work or ever really put in effort in school or anything like that, everything would be okay anyway because they had this fortune. They knew that it would spoil their children. They knew that it wouldn't be good or a healthy way to live. So they lived their entire lives without telling their children that they had this fortune. Only after they died and their children were already grown-ups and parents for themselves that they got this inheritance. And I think that's very important that we understand that why did the parents do that? Because real happiness, real true happiness comes from within, comes from doing kindness. And this actor in this movie, it really shows that. The Perfect Day, he's such a kind person. He's such a loving person. He gives the shirt off his back. He respects everyone. And even though people are looking at him like he's a dirty rag, it doesn't hurt him. And he doesn't get mad at them because he knows where his place is, but it doesn't take away from his happiness. So for everyone listening, if you're in a simple job, or if you're not doing great, or something is not going perfectly for you, don't feel bad. It's not your job that makes you the person you are. You are the person who makes you who you are. And without bad, you can't have good. So appreciate the bad and understand that life is such a blessing, and it's so fast that we can't waste our time being upset or being angry or feeling undeserved or being victims. Take what we have and love it. And hopefully you make your own destinies and you have your own children. And if you can't, maybe adopt or whatever and continue your legacy. And you want to do that. And that's like, he preserves his legacy through pictures, but you can preserve it through children, and hopefully he will preserve it through his children. And make, you know, pictures are great and pets are great. They're really amazing. And I love pets. I'm a pet lover, but they're not humans. You want to have your blood. You want to have your legacy to continue your life going through you. This movie also reminded me of another movie that I saw recently called Still Life. And let me just pull it up over here. Still Life. It was a great movie. It sort of had an unhappy ending because it took you all the way to the end, but there was a lot of similarities, like a simple job, but he really took consideration in his job. And it's 2013, written by Umberto Pasolini, and it's starring Eddie Marsan. I don't know if you know him. He's a great actor. He's in he's the brother of Ray Donovan from Ray Donovan series, and it doesn't have the best happy ending, but it's also similar where he documents his life, and he doesn't have children, and he lives a very, disciplined life, and he's a very good person. And you should probably watch that movie also, because it's a great takeaway. So I too don't have a very fancy life. I'm a simple guy, and I'm trying to be a simple guy. Like, to be ordinary is not an easy thing. But whatever I have, I really cherish, and I meet tons of people. Even today, we're having a Tunnel to Towers run, a 5K run, where they raise money for the families who died from 9/11. And I drove a girl who was going to run in the marathon, and I drove another woman. I told them some stories, and a couple years ago, I drove a black lady from Bed-Stuy, and her husband died from lung cancer from 9/11. He was a police officer, if I believe I'm saying it correctly, and he just retired, and he always wanted this really nice Audi or whatever car it was, and he bought it, and then a month later he got sick, and within like a year he died. And this woman was from Diker Heights, and she was like an Italian woman, and her husband was sick for a long time. And the story she told me that they knew he was going to die, and he also got sick. He was a captain or a lieutenant in the NYPD, and it was there during 9/11, and he died only at 54 years old. He was sick for 10 years, and they knew that he would never be able to dance at his daughter's weddings, so they actually had him. They went on a vacation, and they had him dance with his daughters, so that when the daughters get married, they would have this video of him dancing with the daughters. Anyway, she was going to this 5K run, and she said there's only 350 people from FDNY and NYPD who died later from the aftermath of the 9/11. And I told her that if she meets a black woman, that she was once my client that had this story about how her husband wanted this car so bad, and right after he got the car, he got sick, but she kept onto the car, and she probably said she would have liked to sell it because it's expensive to have a car in New York City. And she was a great person, and her husband actually, they had organizations where they would put kids from their community into college. They would help fund their college education. So this black woman is a very special person, and her husband died, and it ripped her into two. But she still didn't want to get rid of the car because her husband wanted this car, and it was his pride and joy. So she kept this car, and I was driving her to the mechanic to fix her car. And this Italian woman said, "Oh, really? That's such an interesting story, because my husband also always wanted a car. He wanted this car. And we knew he was going to get sick. So we knew he was sick and he was dying. So she told him, with all my wishes, buy whatever car you want." He bought this Lexus, and he loved his car. And now she got rid of her RAV4, and she has the Lexus, and she doesn't want to get rid of it also. So like two people from opposite sides of Brooklyn that probably they don't know each other, both have a similar story. And like, I'm just a simple driver. I'm just a simple guy, but I love life, and I love listening to music. And this movie really resonated with me, where I try to bring out beauty and connect people. And hopefully these people could be friends because they have similar stories and they could get to know each other. And so I'm actually very happy person. I drive people who are blind, and it's something else. And we don't realize how lucky we are that we have eyes, that we wake up with eyes. Forget about people being upset that they don't have a yacht and they don't have a penthouse. What about your eyes? You're able to see, you're able to breathe. And if you don't have eyes, it's not over. These blind people, most of them are super content, super happy people. But it's a challenge, and we don't have those challenges. We should be happy that we can move. I'm going to leave it off with one quote that sort of went viral recently, and I noticed it, and I really love it. And it says, if you lose your money, you lost nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. You're not dead. You lost your health. Okay, maybe you can't walk, but you didn't lose everything. You're still good. You're still there. So if you lose your money, you lost everything. If you lose your health, you lose something, or you lost something. But if you lose your character, you lose everything, right? So no matter what, I want you guys to hold on to your character. I want you to be inspired by the day-to-day grind. I want you to appreciate it. I want you to not to wait to be happy for tomorrow. My license plate on my car is ETA 0, right? It's a joke, because when am I going to get to you? If you see my license plate, I'm there. But it has a deeper meaning. ETA, when are we going to get there? 0. We're there. You're living in the life. Stop and smell the roses. Listen to Eckhart Tolle. We're talking about living in the present and being happy. And now is now, and later is later. I like the way he said that also, because now is now, later is later. Don't ever say you're poor. Never say you're poor. Say you're broke. Right? It's a big difference. Later. Not never. Next time. He says next time. Not never. He says next time. There's a possibility we'll go to that circus. My niece. You know, he doesn't say no. He doesn't say never. He says next time. Next time is next time. Now is now, and next time is next time. So don't say you're broke. Don't say you're poor. Say you're broke. You're broke. You don't have money now, but you don't know what's around the corner. Things could happen. Aspire to be successful. Have dreams. That's good. Don't try to stay on the try to stay in your simple job. Just try to aspire, but never give up your character, because if you give up your character, you lost everything. God bless you guys. I'm going to eat my delicious lunch that Marina, you prepared for me, and it smells boom fantastic. We got wild rice and chicken and a delicious salad, and of course my big jug of water. So for all you there listening, thank you for putting in the time to listen to me. I hope you watch this movie, and I hope it resonates with you. If you have any comments that you want to tell me, feel free to comment over there. I try to get back to everyone. And cheers. Ciao.